Hello everybody, my name's Lizzy and I am very, very passionate about insects and spiders. So you're going to be hearing a lot about spiders that may be living in your back gardens and some other cool insects as well. So most people understand that insects are important for pollination, right? We know that bees pollinate a lot of the food that we eat, but insects are really, really important for a whole lot of other things as well that we don't always realize. They're very, very important food for all sorts of things. So lots of the birds that are living in your gardens and the reptiles as well, they're eating insects. They disperse seeds. So a lot of trees need their seeds to be moved around in order for them to grow up into big trees. And these little ants, like this one up here, they grab the seeds, they bring them along the ground, and they plant them somewhere completely different so that a big tree can grow up. That's a really, really important job that they do. Also, they play very important roles in our soil. So there's lots and lots of really good bugs in our soil that are breaking down the leaves and all the dead matter. If we didn't have them, we'd be in a lot of trouble because we'd be up to our neck in leaves. And what I'll be talking about today is that insects and spiders that are really good at pest control. So these are the predators. They've been evolving for 300 million years and more to eat insects. So they do it really well, and we should be taking advantage of this and using these good bugs in our back gardens to do some pest control. So we can actually use these native predators to control pests. These pictures I've got down the bottom here, we have a lynx spider, this one here. This is a ladybird. Ladybirds are amazing predators, and you can actually buy big jars of ladybirds to let go in your garden. I've got some at the insect tent if you want to come see some afterwards. And this one here is called a lacewing. That's the larvae stage. And you can see it there eating an aphid. They're amazing predators. So we should be getting more of these guys in our back gardens. And actually that's what they're doing in agriculture a lot now. So a lot of farms can't use very many insecticides anymore because they're dangerous for us and the environment. And so they're using good bugs instead. There's no risk of the insects developing a resistance. So if you spray them, there's always a couple of bugs that will survive. They'll be resistant, and then we have to use more and more pesticides to kill these bugs. But with the good bugs, they're evolving at the same time, and so they can keep up and keep on eating these bad bugs. Also, if you're using bugs instead of pesticides, it encourages biodiversity and actually helps the entire environment. And of course, you don't have those nasty chemicals in the environment. So what I'm going to do today is to introduce you to some of my favourite spiders and bugs that live in your back garden and are really good predators. Hands up in the audience if you've ever seen any of these spiders. I think most gardens in Sydney would have at least one of these three. This one here is a leaf curling spider, and they will pick up a leaf and bring it into the centre of their web, and they use that there as we call it a retreat, so they're hiding from birds, and you'll always find them in there. This is the female. You can see her legs sticking out there. She'll often have a little male living up the back in there with her as well. This one here is called a garden orb weaving spider, and you see these ones out at night. You'll often come out in the morning and there'll be a big web but no spider in it. That's these guys. So they build the big web at night. Often they'll actually eat it up again in the morning so that it doesn't get destroyed by birds during the day. But they're really fantastic at catching moths and other night-flying insects. And this one here, these are my favourite. This is a golden orb weaving spider, and they get huge, this kind of size. And they build these huge golden webs and catch all sorts of things. They're really fantastic. You'll see them a lot around this time of year. And we've got two of them over at our tent too if you want to come see them. But orb weaving spiders, the ones that build that big circular web, come in all sorts of shapes and sizes. This one here is a little triangular abdomen spider. I don't know why they call it that, but that's that one. And we have a whole range of these really spiky spiders. Has anyone ever seen one of these two-spine spiders? They're actually very common in Sydney, but we don't often see them because they hide under leaves. So they've got their web out, but they hide under a leaf behind the web. But there's so many different colours and shapes. These are all orb weaving spiders as well. They're all found in Sydney. This one here is one of my favourites. Can anyone see the spider there? That's its head, these are its legs and its body, and they're actually next to impossible to find unless you actually touch them and move them. They're called wraparound spiders. Again, I don't know where these names come from, but they have this really, really kind of crouched posture, and they're almost impossible to see. This one has a similar kind of idea. It's pretending to be a twig. That's its body, that's its head, and these are its legs, and it sits kind of flush along a stick and really, really, really hard to see. They're amazingly camouflaged. These ones are a bit more bright and colourful. This one here is a scorpion-tailed spider, and they sit with that tail going up through their web. Again, really common in Sydney and quite colourful. So if you see a little yellow spider, check out these guys. So some of my other favourites which are really common in back gardens is crab spiders. So you can see what they're doing here is that they've got these flowers and they're very, very well camouflaged. They can actually change their colour to match the colour of the flower. And they do that, they sit on the edge here and they wait. And they wait until a pollinator comes down to pollinate this flower, and then they come out and they catch it. They've got a great strategy. And so if you've got some daisies or some big flowers like that in your back garden, have a look at them every now and then, turn them over, and you might find a little crab spider sitting in the corner there. Jumping spiders. Now these ones don't build a web, they don't have that big circular web. What they do to catch their prey is they use these amazing eyes. They've got really big front eyes, very, very good vision, and they run along and they jump and they catch their prey like that. They're very, very fast, but they're also very friendly. This is my fingers. This is a little girl that I found on a beach one day. She spent all day with me, and they're basically like little kittens. They will watch you, they'll run around, they're very, very cute, and they're absolutely fantastic predators to have in your back garden because they'll eat flies, they'll eat grasshoppers, they'll eat all sorts of stuff. Now, these are a type of jumping spider that you may have heard of. They're the peacock spiders, and they are absolutely amazing. So the story of these guys is that we didn't even know they existed until about 10 years ago. They're only found in Australia, and we now have over 160 species of these, and they all have a completely different pattern. Does anybody know why they have the big tail like that? It's basically exactly the same as a peacock. So these are all male spiders. They've got these beautiful big tails. They've got these long legs, and when they see a girl spider that they think they might like to get to know a bit better, they drum their front legs, they lift up their back legs, and they flip up their abdomen, which is the coloured part, and they wave it around. But I'll show you the reason why we haven't found them until about 10 years ago. That's how big they are. So these guys are everywhere, they live in leaf litter, but we just didn't even know about them. So there's just this fantastic diversity of spiders that we had no idea were there. I should have told you guys. So in Australia, we think that we know about 3,500 different types of spiders, but there's probably 4 or 5 times that many that we don't even know about yet. So for people like me, that's amazing because I'm never going to be out of a job. There's always something new for me to study, but it means that there's so much diversity out there in Australia, and yeah, there could be a new spider species in your back garden. These are 2 spiders that are amazing predators, and I want to tell you quickly about the way they catch their prey. This one is called a net casting spider, and you can see they hang pointing down like that, and she's made a web in her front 2 legs like this, and she'll sit there hanging down until she sees something fly by. She can actually hear the vibration as well. She throws her net just like a fisherman, catches it and reels it back in again, and they're quite often in back gardens. Sometimes you can just see the little web that she's made hanging there if she's gone. So they really love these kind of long frondy kind of plants, so have a look next time you're in a garden like that. And these ones here have an even more amazing strategy. This is a bolus spider. She's got a long string like that with a big sticky glob at the end. And she swings that round, and then she catches her moths like that with the big glob. But it doesn't actually sound like it would work very well, would it? Because when are you going to see a moth that gets that close? But she's got another trick. What she does is she makes the smell of a female moth. And so the male moths think, oh yeah, I need some of that. They come, and they come to where they smell the female moth. She lures them in, then she does her swing, and she catches them like that. It's an amazing strategy. This is when evolution blows my mind that this has actually evolved. But they have been doing it for 300 million years, so they've had a bit of practice. Now, these are some of the ultimate hunters that you will find in your houses and back gardens. Does everybody know what this one is? This is a huntsman. So people often have them in their houses. They are amazing at catching cockroaches. I often think that I'd much rather have one huntsman in my house than a whole lot of cockroaches. I actually don't have enough huntsmen. I need more because I've still got cockroaches in my house. These 2 here, they're wolf spiders. And what this wolf spider here has on her back is a whole lot of babies. She's a really good mum. She carries her babies around with her until they're big enough to eat food on their own, and then they scatter off everywhere. So if you ever see a YouTube video where somebody hits a spider and the spiders go running, it's actually really sad because it's the mum that's been carrying these guys around. And everyone freaks out, but to me that's quite a sad story. These are really cool spiders and very good hunters. And this is the lynx spider that I showed earlier as well. Kind of a cross between a wolf spider and a jumping spider. They've got these amazing spikes on their legs so that they can detect prey as they're running around because they don't have big eyes like jumping spiders. And onto a couple of insects now. I have to include some insects. Spiders are my thing, but insects are really good predators as well. So these are the ladybirds we were talking about. They're great at eating aphids. This is a baby ladybird. You might have seen one before and thought, what the hell is that? People don't often make that connection because they go through such amazing transitions. Baby ladybirds, great predators, and the adults eat aphids as well. These are the lacewings. You often see these really long eggs on the sticks under leaves and things in the garden. They lay them on the top of my balcony as well. They hatch out into these little larvae, and these are the adults. The larvae are actually even better at eating pests than the adults, but the adults are really beautiful insects as well. So these are fantastic bugs to be having in your back garden, and you can actually buy them. There's a couple of companies that sells them en masse to agricultural companies, and I'm starting to look into how we could use these in back gardens as well for my research. So we are talking about ponds today and water sources in back gardens, and of course one of the problems with having a pond is mosquitoes, and that's something that people are always asking about. These are the baby mosquitoes here that will come and live in any kind of water source. So before we even start talking about insects, one thing you can do about mosquitoes is to make sure that you're refreshing any water that's in your garden. Not the ponds obviously, but any standing water. If you've got pet bowls or bird baths, just refresh them every couple of days because that will stop the larvae from growing up. And what we're going to be talking about is encouraging predators in your back garden to deal with any of the insect larvae that may have been laid in the ponds. One of the most amazing mosquito predators is this guy. Does anybody know what they might be? Yes, who said dragonfly? Fantastic. This is a dragonfly. This is what they look like when they're in their nymph stage. So these are aquatic. They will live in your pools and ponds, and they've got these amazing teeth, and they are fantastic at eating all sorts of things, but among that, mosquito larvae. What they do is they will crawl up a reed when they're ready to hatch out. That's a dragonfly hatching out from its nymph stage. They fly out, and they're really, really good at eating all sorts of things when they're adults as well. Another one is, a lot of people don't realise that a lot of water beetles and water striders are predatory, so you often see them on the top of your pools and ponds. They can get quite big even, and they're really, really good bugs to encourage because they're great predators as well. Again, this is the adult here, and that's what they look like as babies. And there are also water spiders. I had to come back round to them at the end as well. So these spiders, they can actually walk on the top of the water. They spread out their legs and they use the surface tension to walk across. Some of them can even go down underneath the water. They use their hairs on their legs to trap a lot of water around their body, and they can actually dive down and live under the water for a while as well. Fantastic predators, but do keep in mind that they sometimes eat fish as well. They can actually get big enough to eat the tiny fish in your garden. So yeah, these are fantastic predators, and they'll eat all sorts of things, but possibly your fish too. So what can we do to encourage these guys in our garden? It's always good to have native vegetation. Spiders don't care quite so much what they're living on, but they care about what's going to be there for them to eat. So if you have lots of bugs, lots of native plants, then they'll be much more happy in your garden. We do need water sources, of course, for these animals, especially dragonflies and things. They need to have their larval stage in the water, so it's nice to have some water in the back garden. And I often say that it's really good to be a lazy gardener when it comes to insects, because we don't like these really, really manicured lawns with, fake grass and just a couple of trees. They like a bit of mess. They like to have some leaf litter in the corner. They like a bit of unmown grass. That will keep them much happier. And I always say we really need to avoid using pesticides in our gardens. I know that some people have their spray the whole garden because they're worried about a couple of insects, but that kills everything basically. So it's wiping out this whole system, and it's very easy for the pests to come back again. So if you let some of these insects and spiders live, rather than wiping them out, they'll actually do the pest control for you, and you don't have to worry about those nasty chemicals. The only spiders we really need to worry about in Sydney are redbacks and funnel webs. And the most important thing about that is just being aware that they're there. None of them are going to come after you. They're not highly aggressive. You just need to be aware of where they're living and what they look like. So there are a couple of really good resources if you're interested in spiders and you want to learn more about them. There's two great books. I've got one of them I can show you back at the bug tent as well. The Australian Museum has an amazing website. Bugs for Bugs are the people that actually sell the ladybirds and the lacewings for back gardens, and iNaturalist is always a good one too to pop on and have a look at what the different spiders are. And thank you very much for listening.